This is Chris. Chris likes Michael Jackson and pretending to put water in his cup at Chipotle when he's actually putting in Sprite. He hates vegetables, and when Netflix puts out TV shows that are so good and powerful and moving that it brings him close to tears, but not all the way because he's still a thug, but if he blinked at the wrong time, it could happen.
It's true. I do hate vegetables. Alright, welcome to Tate's Take. If you're new here, I do movie and TV reviews every week. Give you a little background, basically let you know if I think it's worth checking out or not. If you're into that sort of thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for your boy. For my regular Tate's Takers, this is what it sounds like when thugs cry. Love on the Spectrum is a 5-part documentary series that just came to Netflix in July. It was first available on ABC in Australia in November of 2019. It was directed by Cian O'Clery, who's an award-winning Australian director. He's known for making documentaries that really have something to say, but also keep you entertained. Nailed it. Love on the Spectrum follows young adults on the autism spectrum as they explore the crazy world of love, dating, and relationships. The series gives us the opportunity to break down some of the misconceptions and stereotypical views of people with autism. But Tate, what exactly is autism? Man, no, there's no time. I gotta get into the show. Please? Alright, I'll make it quick. Autism is a developmental disorder that often decreases social interactions and communication skills. It's usually discovered by parents or caregivers in the first 3 years of a child's life. Before 2013, autism was one of several PDDs, or pervasive developmental disorders. One of those PDDs was Asperger's syndrome, which was known as a high-functioning form of autism. When you watch Love on the Spectrum, you hear a lot of the cast members describe themselves as Aspies or as having Asperger's syndrome. And because there's so many similar signs and symptoms of these PDDs, in 2013, they scrapped them all together and replaced it with what is known as Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD. That covers all the PDDs, but uses a spectrum to determine the different severities. The exact cause of autism spectrum disorder is unknown, but it's largely accepted as a genetic disorder that affects the brain's development. Unfortunately, there's no cure for autism, but there is treatment. And as expected, the earlier it's detected, the better. But the treatment has to be tailored for each child. Autism affects about 1 in 68 kids born, and it's 4 times more common in boys than in girls, which is why you'll often hear on the show that the women were diagnosed much later in life. And that's twofold. So like one, because it's much rarer in girls, it often goes undetected, which to me just sounds like lazy doctor work. But also two, girls are just much better at hiding the signs of autism. There's still a lot to learn about autism, but one thing doctors do know for sure, and I need y'all to hear me on this one, vaccines don't cause autism. Vaccines, no, they don't cause autism. But because people on the internet, there's memes. They don't. People who live with autism can find certain everyday tasks very challenging. From reading social cues and making small talk, to being able to understand another person's perspective, all of this makes the dating world even harder than it already is. But we got some super interesting members of this cast that are willing to try and make it work. Here's my thoughts on some of these icons. Michael. Where'd I even start with Michael? Michael's for sure gonna get a TV deal when this is all said and done.
A lot of people our age aren't interested in commitment. They're only interested in intercourse.
Not only is he hilarious, but he's a hopeless romantic that says his #1 goal in life is to be a husband. There's a few people who told me to check this show out. What's up, JJ? And they said that Michael will be my favorite. And he's great, but he's not my favorite because that honor goes to Chloe. Chloe's a 19-year-old who's looking for love and gender doesn't matter to her. She's super nice and she doesn't like her foods touching, just like me. My favorite scene of the show is when she's heading out on a date and her dad is trying to give her advice. He's basically trying to tell her that it's okay to step away and take a break if you need one. Just excuse yourself and say you need to powder your nose. And she tells her dad like, I don't have any powder. Well, I mean, she's like British, so she's like, I haven't got any. And he's like, well, you can just say you're going to the bathroom. And she's like, that's not honest. Ugh, fantastic. Next up, we got Thomas and Ruth. And what's cool about them is that they're one of the couples on the show. Where you would think this show is all about singles looking for love, the show creators did a good job of including couples like Thomas and Ruth to show people with autism who are single what a healthy relationship can look like. And they're great. Thomas is a good dude who loves public transit, probably because he doesn't live in New York. And Ruth loves her pet snake, and Ruth loves Thomas.
Yeah, so basically, I'm fire and he's water.
And together,
fire and water, things get steamy.
That's true. That's very naughty.
Yes, it is.
Next, we got my homie Maddie. Maddie's cool, man. She's one of the funnier people on the show, but like funny where she doesn't know that she's being funny, very sarcastic. She's never had romantic feelings for anyone, but she's willing to try. Mark. What a nice fellow. And he actually gives Michael a run for his money on the hopeless romantic front. Mark is cool, man. And he studies paleontology, so he knows like everything about dinosaurs. I mean, some of his dates don't think it's as interesting as he does, but don't worry, Mark. I think it's very cool. Obviously, that's not the whole cast of the show, but those are the ones that kind of stood out to me. If there's someone that I didn't talk about that you like, you can let me know in the comments. So what's my take? This is the best reality show on TV. I don't know what else to tell you. And I don't like to gas myself up too much, but how about a round of applause for my journey? From Love is Blind, to Too Hot to Handle, to Indian matchmaking, to Love on the Spectrum. That's growth. Anyway, this show is great. Everyone should watch it. I already gave you the rundown on how awesome the main cast is, but honestly, it's the parents for me. My God, the complete embodiment of like love and undying support. And some may say like, duh, you're supposed to love and support your kids. But sadly, it's not so obvious for all parents. And these parents are doing it with the extra time and attention it takes to raise children with autism. And so often in the show, you hear them getting choked up just talking about how proud they are about how far they've come. They wasn't the only ones getting choked up, huh? We're watching adults with autism trying out dating and their parents being there every step of the way. But we weren't there to see what I would imagine were the much tougher times of when they were younger. Which is another reason why the show is so good. It can give the parents watching at home who have children with autism hope about what their child can accomplish in the future. So we got the cast that's great, the parents that are great. The next best part of this show are the producers that are also great. They stated that the most important part of making the show was caring for the participants and enabling them to tell their stories in a comfortable and collaborative way. They worked closely with autism and disability organizations to make sure that they were being sensitive to people on the spectrum. On the dates, they said they made sure that the cast knew that they could raise their hand and stop filming anytime they felt overwhelmed, anxious, or overall just uncomfortable. And what's even better about seeing them work with these specialists and going on these dates is that people with autism have reacted to the show and said that they actually learned things that will help them as well. Finally, I will say that we can all learn a thing or two from these folks on chivalry and overall human decency. Faith in humanity almost restored. I'm gonna give Love on the Spectrum 5 stars. Easily the best reality show of 2020. Tiger King, your reign is over. People with autism are rarely seen as people with romantic interests. That's a huge misconception. The truth is more so that they just don't always know how to clearly express their feelings. But some studies show that people with autism have greater emotional capacities than people without. They're just not as good at showing it. Doesn't mean they're not there though. Thanks to Love on the Spectrum, we got to see that. I'm going to leave a link to Autism Speaks in the description of this video. They're the biggest foundation working to help people with autism in some key ways. Increasing global awareness, advancing research, expanding early childhood screening, and improving the transition to adulthood. Check them out and donate to the cause if you have the capacity to support. As always, thanks for checking out Tate's Take. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. In the comments, let me know if you checked out the show and who your favorite was. You already know I'm Team Chloe, which, now that I think of it, my favorite in Too Hot to Handle was also Chloe. Damn, that's full circle. I'm Team Chloe, squared, like twice. Thanks for the time, y'all. Peace.
I'm still looking for love because it's something that's worth fighting for. You know, everyone feels like they get to that point where they're like, I'm never going to find love. Am I going to be alone for the rest of my life? Just remember, don't give up.